Hold on.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Look
it's
at me!
lit. It's lit.
I got fireworks.
Nah, you over there lit. It's jumping off. It's popping. It's popping. I see.
Hey, there we go. We are down 100% live. We got one more coming. As they pop in, I will add them. All right, let's have an open and honest conversation because I am very concerned about what's going on in the community. Our young people seem to be wanting to line up to crash out for no reason. Recently, in the DMV area alone, a 3-year-old kid was shot by some random person. I think the reward right now is like $50,000. Uh, Dunbar just now had a school shooting where two kids were shooting it out. No mask, no nothing, broad daylight. So it seems like our young people are willing to crash out. And as we know, we work on right around the corner from it. Woodyard Mall, LA Fitness had a shooting over a disagreement over a game. So before we get to the solutions, let's discuss where we've been. Rather than at least the federal law enforcement side, I'll take that in. You got Dr. Bishop Parham, who's going to take the side of working with the youth, and we're going to hope everybody else is going to tell their truth. So let's start off with Ryan and work our way around the circle. Ryan, can you please introduce yourself, what you do now, and then unpack your real truth from what you did? You on mute, bro.
All right, good to see everybody again in a new face, and thanks Norris for having me on. Myself now, I'm in and out of the sport of powerlifting. I'm a national referee. I'm in WRPF Federation as an official, help throw meets with North American Strength Promotions, both powerlifting and strongman, the main announcer, and some other things like that. And my day job is in finance. In terms of what Norris is getting here that I bring to the table, maybe, is when I was a young man, I was on the streets for 6 years and lived as an outlaw and was homeless and a drug addict and lived by the sword. So I lived like some of these kids you're talking about for a number of years, from 18 to 24, before I scraped myself off the streets and made something of myself. So that's my truth on this subject, is I was there.
Thank you, Ryan. Brother Jack, would you like to tell everybody what you currently do and unpack your real truth?
I also compete in powerlifting. Been doing it for about 3 or 4 years. Uh, I'm a personal trainer now. Before that, I was a PI for 8 years. And my truth about the situation that's going on with the youth right now is I have empathy towards them. I mean, never has it been so bad to be a teenager than it is now. I mean, I remember when I was a kid, I was like 12, I was in St. Louis. I was riding my bike around at night, causing trouble, never having to worry about the things that these kids have to worry about these days. And when I was later in my teens, I would experiment with drugs. I would go out to the clubs in San Francisco and I would feel safe. Even doing the harder drugs, I would feel safe. But these kids these days, they have to worry about overdosing on fentanyl and, just the scary drugs that are out there that are just lethal. And so I never had to worry about any of that. I mean, I got my fair share of trouble as a kid, but I didn't have quite the consequences that the youth does these days. So my heart goes out to them. They're in a really tough situation with the economy and everything. It's just hard for any kid to have an opportunity nowadays.
Good point. Never going back again.
Never going back, man.
Tell what you do now, and please unpack your real truth.
Man, thank you, Pope. I appreciate you having me on here. Blessed to be here. I think my name says it all. Never going back, JB. I'm gonna get into that, but I am a small business owner right now. I personal train. I own a clothing line. I also compete in bodybuilding, NPC. I'm looking to get my pro card with that. So I'm still a semi-professional, I guess you could say. And like I say, the clothing line for me says it all, which is my brand, Never Going Back. So that's what I bring to the table. So for the Never Going Back for me is the Never Going Back that I did 5 years in federal prison. So I'm never going back to that mindset that put me there. So I'm very involved I'm very involved and concerned about the youth at this moment. I'm really involved in a lot of community outreach. I just came back from today. I was down at the Upper Marlboro Courthouse with a friend of mine who's a public defender, and he actually got somebody off today who was facing 9 years of some backup time. And I went in there and I met a bunch of people today down at the courthouse, shook hands with a lot of people. And then after that, we went to the state's attorney program because we're pushing a nonprofit. So working on a Never Going Back nonprofit for guys like me who are returning citizens who are looking to basically get their steps in the right place when they come home. So that's the mindset in the shift. So basically, just put it like this: if you had a son, daughter, brother, if it was you coming home, you would take off your orange jumpsuit. We would give you some Never Going Back gear. You're gonna walk around with that affirmation on, and you'll have all the resources necessary to you, and have someone like myself who is a returning citizen who can point you in the right direction and be a mentor for you. So I got a lot going on right now, and I do public speaking as well. So it's a movement for sure right now. The Never Going Back.
All right, we're going to let Dr. Bishop Parham safely get to his destination before we chime him in. So you take your time, Doc. We'll be here for a minute, and that's when you park, we'll add you in.
Can y'all hear me?
We can. But you got wind, trees, and everything else in the background. How far are you away from your destination?
Say what? Well, I'm about. What I'm gonna do is, as soon as I get to a exit, I was gonna pull off. I got to sign CDs tonight and stuff at a church, but I'm almost to an exit. I'm just gonna get off and stop to talk with you all. I'm almost there now.
All right. Well, when you get there, just let me know. We'll add you back in.
Okay. Cool beans.
Go beans. All right. We'll let him get to his destination safe. Well, everybody should know me by now, but I go by the title Dear Onk on Facebook, YouTube, and anywhere else you may get social media. And actually, I'm the only probably civilian here. I have a bunch of federal law enforcement experience. I also, worked in housing, and I tried my best to get back to the community if possible. So my first question to you, gentlemen, and anybody can take it who wants to be honest about it. Why did you choose your path? And do you think any resources could have prevented you from your path? Who wants to go?
Do you mean why did you take your path, and are there any resources that could have helped you achieve your path, or
would it help you avoid the path that you went down?
Like going down a bad path?
Yeah. I'll jump on that if you don't mind. I'll go first. For me, I didn't get into all my background. I played basketball at an extremely high level, high school basketball. Played at college, led the nation in assists my freshman year in junior college. So I have a certain level of the game and knowledge. And for me, I feel like if I had someone like me who is involved with the kids, involved with training, who's involved with the youth, and who's looking to really push a positive message of keeping kids on the right track. Not to say that wasn't in place, but if it was just a little bit more implemented and I had some more access possibly to just my individual, just at times I could just literally pick up the phone and call somebody and just have a different voice than what I had around me. That's why I didn't have great mentors around me at the time. But sometimes when you keep hearing the same voice over and over again as a youth, it just kind of starts to go in one ear and out the other, you know what I'm saying? And for me, it started to become, I almost started to play or want to win just for the awards, just so I could receive the love that I would get from the awards. You know what I'm saying? It started not to become necessarily the love of the game, but it started to become, I'm just playing for the awards, and I know I'm gonna get love from my parents. And I almost feel like if I do that correctly and do it well enough at a high enough level, that I don't have to have such a balanced life. Like I can slack off in other areas. I can slack off in my chores. I can slack off at school. I can slack off. And that started to become a pattern. And that pattern started taking effect, you know what I'm saying, to a certain extent in my life. And then it kind of just lost control because I lost control of the vision, lost control of the goal. But I always feel like for me, if I had somebody that was more of a, not necessarily, I had a big brother who was, you know, he was trying to find his path too. But if I had somebody who went through the experiences that I went through and was able to really relate to me on a certain level, that definitely would have helped me.
Jack, Ryan, who want to go next?
I'll go next. I didn't choose the path. It was foisted upon me. You know, I grew up poor, four brothers, single mom, and I was a lot older than my brothers. And then it was my last year of high school. I was generally a good kid. I smoked a little dope, played a little hacky sack, nothing too serious in high school. You know, not like a regular kind of high school guy, nothing serious. And I went home one day, and there was an eviction notice on the door, and my house was empty. And that was it. And I was in grade 12. And I didn't end up seeing my mom. I don't know where she took off to skip out on the rent. And this was before social media. It's in the 90s. And didn't see her for 8 years or any of my family. I went home. So within a span of 48 hours, I was a high school student on the honor roll, and then went home to an empty house, then went into the principal's office the next day. And they said, oh, since you turned 18, there's no social programs for you. I got 10 bus tickets, directions to the homeless shelter, and a pair of steel-toed boots. I walked into the homeless shelter, looked at it once, sold the boots, sold the bus ticket, bought some, illicit substances, staked out a street corner, and that was it. So in the span of 48 hours, I went from an honor roll student to a banger on the streets in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and staked out a street corner, and that was it. So from honor roll to street drug dealer in 48 hours. And it took me 6 years to get off the streets, and didn't see my family for 8, I think. And, you know, this might have been different now. There's social services for people. There's, you know, this is 30 years ago. I'm an older guy. And the world was a different place then. You know, I learned a lot of hard lessons fast from being a regular, high school kid to I don't know, I guess banger, I guess, a little different up in Canada, different paradigms. But yeah, took 6 years to get, and then it spiraled out of control to the point where I was like 100 pounds with a needle in my arm and, like doing some heinous shit, man, and both, and seeing the worst society has to offer. And then I came out of it, but that's all, we'll maybe get into that. But yeah, I didn't choose the path, man. It just happened. And then it took 6 years to get off the path.
Now that's real. Brother Jack.
I went through not like a similar experience, but I was locked up when I was very young. And it wasn't, a path that I chose. I was abused, by negligent stepmothers. Alcohol, substance abuse was all a problem in my household. And physical and psychological abuse. And, my sister had to leave the home at an early age and live on her own in St. Louis. And, I went ahead and did bad stuff as a 11, 12-year-old, and I got in bad company. And I think you're right. I think about mentors is the one thing that really helped me get through my bad period and helped me get on a better path is having older mentors, having people with experience. Like if I was 12 and I had you guys, talking to me, that would change my life in a whole different direction. And I think that the youth of today need more of that. They need more of this older generation, instead of mocking them and turning their backs on them and being like, oh, these kids are like terrible. We need to be like, hey, they're probably terrible because we're neglecting them, and we need to, help them out. And, we were in this position. We need to, guide them on what better choices there are. And I think things that are simple as like having powerlifting programs in high schools could help a lot of kids, just teaching them how to weightlift, how to take out that aggression, or even like MMA or something like that. Give them a positive outlet to really unleash this aggression instead of telling them that this aggression is bad, or that they can't have this anger built up in them, that they should hide it. They should, conceal it until it blows up and becomes a big problem when they become older. They should have programs that help them, outlet it appropriately, and good mentors.
Good point. I'm sorry, I muted my mic because you guys were talking. But good point, man. Recently, I had an open, honest conversation with a coworker who is from Puerto Rico originally, and he's like, "You Americans are just lazy. My father came over here, couldn't speak no English, and now he's making $500,000 a year. You guys just want a handout." And I was just like, "No, it's just resources, and people are not given the proper resources." So how does it make you feel when people say you're just being lazy and you don't want to go out there and really get it the right way?
Yeah, I think that's just ignorance, and it's people taking from their own experience and not understanding that there are lived experiences within everyone, and they're different, and that they can't understand other people's lived experiences as much as they think they know it from their own personal experience. They don't, and they don't know how they would react in the situation of one of these people. So instead of coming from a place of judgment, they should probably come from more of a place of grace and try to understand, where they're coming from, instead of coming from their perspective and what they would do.
I think that's an excellent answer. I think that's an excellent answer for sure. But at the same time, I feel like certain statements is truth to certain statements. You know what I'm saying? When it's where there's smoke, there's usually fire. You know what I mean? And like we've been saying, it's like you always hear that, oh, they're lazy, da 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 da. Yeah, we that from your perspective, like you said, you come from a different background. You come from wherever you come from different resources. You've seen differently, so you move differently. You know what I'm saying? So to your perspective, yeah, it is lazy. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause they're like, oh, they should be doing the blah, 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 blah. They have, resources to do A, B, C, D. And that's how my father almost looked at me. Now, me and my dad had a decent relationship. And it's crazy because my background is different. Like you guys just said a lot, it sounded like it was trauma in your background. Like I come from a great home, you know what I'm saying? So my whole background is like opposite of like everything that has happened, like for me transferring into prison and everything like that. So like my dad used to say that to me because he was older, you know what I'm saying? My dad he had me when he was 50, you know what I'm saying? So my dad literally was was born in the 30s, you know what I'm saying? So before he passed away, God bless his soul. But it was always to him, he looked at me like, I've done everything in my life before, so you can have everything. You know what I'm saying? Why aren't you capitalizing, or why aren't you moving the way, you know what I'm saying? But it's his perspective. It's what he saw at a certain time. And, you know what I'm saying? His grind or his hustle was different from what it is, you know what I'm saying? From what my situation was or what I knew. Like you said, you don't know how you're going to move. You don't know how you're being influenced. Just because you're my dad and you feel like you see me every day, you don't know really what's going on in my world, in my environment. You know what I'm saying? You're just seeing it from a parent's perspective, or from, you know what I'm saying, or from a foreign perspective, or from whoever's perspective are. You don't know what a person is going through, and you don't know what they've tried to do, and you know what I'm saying, how many doors were shut in their face. And that starts from a young age, from childhood. And you know what I'm saying, that trauma follows you, and it's just certain things that, the strong at the top, you know what I'm saying? You're going to say that the strong survive. You got to do this. You got to just be strong, and whatever the case may be, where your strength is at, you know what I'm saying? But that's not always the case. You know what I'm saying? There's many ways to skin a cat, and I feel like there's many ways to relate to different people. And if they had access to different, you know what I'm saying, like we said, like these type of platforms, or somebody who actually could talk to them and sit them down to do certain things, I feel like it might be much of a better result, like you say, than just pointing the finger and just saying you lazy. What are you doing to give back?
I think both you guys gave great answers and good perspectives there. But I'll admit right off, I am one of those MFers that's telling people they're lazy pieces of shit. So, right? And I'm going to be straight up. I came from nothing. Like, I mean, literally homeless on a street corner. I got a waterfront house. I got a career. I got a college education. Didn't borrow a dime. Hustled and grinded it all. Now, we all walk in different, and where I've been learning over the years from you guys in different situations is to be a little softer and be a little easier on people, because I haven't walked in their shoes, but they haven't walked in mine. But I have to take in some of that empathy, because I grew up so hard. There was no room for empathy. The weak got eaten. Like, there was no, if you were weak, you were dead or you were in prison or, you know what I mean? Like you got caught, like, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. So I came up hard and I have to soften now to better coach up the young bucks, and they can take from my experience. But a lot of MFers are lazy as shit now. I'm sorry, like 100%, man. Our society is instant gratification. Get it now or don't do it. And they expect the world handed to them with no consequences in their life. And I think going to some of the point of why the kids are going off nowadays is they grew up in worlds with no consequences. I grew up before self-esteem and before different things in school. Like you shot your mouth off, you got punched in the teeth when I was in high school or younger than that, right? You shoot your mouth off now, you shoot your mouth off on Twitter, it's cool, right? You know, no consequences to your actions. You know, you steal something. When I was a kid, you went to juvie. You steal something now, they give you a free hug and you don't prosecute nothing. Revolving door on those kind of crimes, right? Like it's a different world, so I have to adapt and I have to soften up and
I think it's also a generational thing too, that we had as Gen X, we kind of had a little bit of an advantage because we were kind of like, we kind of grew up in generation. I'm speaking very generally, like out, we were like left to the wolves. You know what I'm saying? Like we could kind of do, we were very social. We would go out and do our own thing. We would take risks and that sort of thing.
Yes.
This generation is stuck in their rooms. They're playing video games. They're stuck on social media. They're not really going out into the world. They're seeing a artificial view of the world within their own bubble, and they're not active. And you almost need that kind of activity and adventure as a kid. And I feel like I had that as Gen X. Like we would just, you know, we didn't have computers. So we would go out on our bikes and we'd meet up. We'd get in trouble. We'd shoot off M80s. I don't know. We would drink our first alcohol. You know what I'm saying? Like we would do like risky things. But those risky things helped us in the long term grow up as men. And I don't think I don't think this generation has that same experience. I think they're so trapped, and I think it's taking away that essential sense of adventure you need as a kid.
I think JB had a question.
No, I was just the things that he touched on. Like we, both of you guys had great points. Sorry, what Ryan? I thought of Ryan. I just want to make sure I didn't call your name wrong. But what Ryan was saying, like you say, that's almost the generation with my dad. You know what I'm saying? The older generation. But I get it. I totally understand exactly what he's saying. You know what I'm saying? But like what Jack was saying as well, we really don't know how we would have been growing up if we had all of this. You know what I'm saying? If this was the norm, if the norm was to sit in the room and watch TV and sit back trying to find a way to get paid from a video game, you watching social media all day, we don't know what exactly we would have done. So it's hard to actually say, you know, put ourselves in these kids' shoes, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just a different time. You know what I'm saying? So I love the fact that what you said, you're softening up now, because that's the only, I'm not going to say that's the only way, because some kids do take the discipline and they take the harder, not even just kids, adults, period. Some people, that is the way you get across to them, but it's just not everybody's way. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I love to coach people up now. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes they're being lazy, but they really don't know they're being lazy. They think they're putting in effort or something. The case may be, like a prime example, my nephew, 16, had issues with school. He's had to drop out of school for a year for whatever the case may be. He's trying to get a job. He's been trying to get a job for 3-4 months on his own. It's not no avail. Hasn't gone on no interviews or nothing. Comes over my brother's house, who has structure. This is his son. He finally gets him back in. He's putting in 5 applications a day. He had 6 interviews in like the first 2-3 weeks, but he thought he was actually putting in, you know what I'm saying? He actually thought he was working or doing, just putting his little, you know, applications into the time. But it's just different because their work ethic, sometimes they just really don't know. You know what I'm saying? We're yelling at them, getting them like, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. And they sitting there just like, it's not connecting because they really haven't seen it. So they have to sometimes see it, visualize it, see how you're doing it, and then it kind of, you know, transforms over. Because if they don't see it, you just don't know what you don't know.
That's why weightlifting is so great, because weightlifting taught me that I wasn't working hard enough. You know what I'm saying? To get results. Like weightlifting is a cruel way of discipline to teach you if you were really working or not, because you will see the results if you're working. If not, you're going to be in a lot of pain.
Yes. So for me, sorry to chime in real fast, real quick, but with the workout, it's it's not the instant gratification that Ryan was talking about. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you have to visualize, and it's something that you got to work through. So when you get those basic foundations of being able to visualize something and work towards a goal, it transforms life. So I love the way you just said that, Jeff.
That's a good point. Like another good point, I was like just realizing, I was telling the guy at the job, I was like, when I was coming up, and I know I'm probably the oldest, like one of the oldest people here next to Ryan, we had summer jobs, and it took a little longer to get what you wanted, but you had an option. But then DC elected a shit hell mayor who took away all summer resources for her 4 years in office. So we went from Marion Barry, who was giving the whole DMV jobs and resources, to Sharon Pratt Kelly, who took away 30,000 summer jobs. So I'm like, if I don't have no resources, if I don't have no way to make money, and some dude say, hey, hold this key for me, I'll give you 3 on the back end, what do you expect me to do?
No, for sure. And that's the thing, creating resources and creating things for them, and not just actually telling them and talking them and pointing at them, you know what I'm saying, but actually giving them something. You telling them to get off the corner, you telling them to do this, but what are you actually providing and putting them for them and putting in place for them? Like, what are you giving them options to do? All right, get off the corner, do this, da-da-da. But, all right, with them now, where they going to go?
Good point. They're not going to go nowhere.
They not.
And I believe the most heartbreaking thing I've seen recently was the young guy who joined one of the gangs that's currently beefing in Atlanta. He's hog-tied. The dude pretty much got him vulnerable and threatened to cut off his tattoo. And I'm pretty sure worse happened to him that day. So I think, you know what I mean, maybe people need to be more honest about what's really going on in the system. And speaking of the system, there's only one person we can ask what's really going on in the system. Dr. Bishop Parham, can you explain to these young kids out here willing to crash out what's waiting on them?
Well, let's see. What's waiting on them is a jail cell, time in the system. Most kids want that because they feel as though that's the best way to go to prove that they're a man or a woman. It's pitiful how the system has failed the youth of today. I have a 13-year-old that has 2 ghost guns up under his mattress, and he think that popping. I know. Back in the day, we say popping. I'm doing electric boogaloo. But now, when kids say popping, that means stealing cars. They take one of them kingpin nail heads and pop the window out and steal a car. So I think we have failed the system. There's no programs to help them out. So they do what? They get into mischief. They join gangs. They kill people. They try to kill people. They rape people. They extort people. So I mean, me working in a juvenile jail, I see it all the time. It's like a redundant door going back and forth, open and close, open and close. They get out, they come right back. They get out, they come right back. So my question is like, what are we doing to stop all of this? What can we do? I had one person tell me about a month ago that they wanted me to come to Chicago to sit on a platform and speak. And I look at the gun violence in Chicago, it's high for those who don't know. But then if you go to the DJJ website, Department of Juvenile Justice, and this is a actual factual statistic. For every one child that's doing good, there's 37 children or 37 youth that's doing bad.
Gracious.
In the United States. So I feel as though we are failing our children. We're failing our children. They are so intertwined with these games that's going to teach them and motivate them to steal cars, shoot guns, how to put guns together, buying parts offline. So it's like, what do we do? What can we do? Who can we talk to? They say that we don't have the money to fund these programs, but you find money for everything else.
You know, to a point to that is we're able to spend trillions of dollars for wars, foreign wars, but we can't help our own children dying on the streets. That
Correct.
for me blows my mind.
Correct. That's why I said I don't understand it. Like, what are we doing? Like, what can we do collectively to try to talk to these youth, do something, or start programs? They used to have a program called Weed and Seed. That was a federally funded program, and it meant they're going to weed out, they're going to seed in the good and weed out the bad. And it was working in Trenton, New Jersey. It was working in Denver, Colorado. So like Dallas, Texas, this program was actually working. I mean, it was federal funded. So like, what are we doing?
Wow.
What can be done?
This is extremely powerful for me right now, even you saying this, because this is what my nonprofit idea that we're putting together right now, that we're creating, is exactly for. Like, you know what I'm saying, to stop that revolving door, to literally, when you come home, to have access. So I was telling them I went to a courtroom today and sat in court, and then I went to a state's attorney's event earlier, because we just get networking and doing things for the nonprofit, and it is so essential right now. Like, is the people who are involved in the system. You see it every day, you know what I mean? But everybody who they just hear the news, they hear about it, but they don't actually see it. And you're not in the trenches every day around it, you know what I'm saying? And it's just a different perspective. And this is so needed. It's so essential, you know what I mean? And it definitely, like you say, it's programs like the one you just was mentioning, is that just we don't have, you know what I mean? You come home, you literally come home, and it's just like, okay, I'm home now. Now what? Now what? What am I going to do? You know what I'm saying? It's just, you have no vision. That's the key part for me. What I'm going to talk about later once we get to just the vision. You know, we have no vision, and that's why I say, when you say lifting weights and bodybuilding is like, it's very key. You know what I'm saying? To actually being able to grow and actually seeing something. These kids can't see nothing but what's in front of the screen, what's in front of their face. Like we used to say it in prison all the time. They can't think past go. That's go. Whatever emotion that's right there in that time, that's what they want. It don't matter what it is, what else. They don't see nothing else. It's just that they can't think past the next steps, and it's sad.
Well, like I said again, I'm at the point where I'm willing to do whatever I can to help out. I spent my own money flying places, giving motivational speeches, but it's just like, if I could just help just one, I'm happy.
Wow.
You know, it's so hard. Like I said again, to see kids come and go, whether they're African American, Latino, white. I mean, it's like they coming and going, and it's so I don't know how to explain it. Like I said again, I see them on a regular basis. When I say, I mean a regular basis, they coming and going. Murder, attempted murder, and then a lot of them don't understand that once you get in the system, it's hard to get out.
Mm-hmm.
And here in Charleston, South Carolina, I'm gonna be real with you. Where I come from in New Jersey, you do not get the type of food that these kids get 3 times a day, plus a snack, plus you get canteen. I mean, it's like they're giving these kids the stuff that they don't give at home. So since they don't get it at home, they're gonna do what? If I go back to jail, I get 3 meals a day.
I can get that.
If I go back to jail, I get snacks.
Mm-hmm.
If I go back to jail, I got a room place to stay. So it's to me, it's a trickle down from what's going on at home. I don't get this love at home, but you know what? I got Bishop OG who gonna tell me right from wrong and lay hands if he have to. But Bishop OG treats me like I'm somebody.
Yeah.
If y'all can tell, I just turned the tables. I went from juvenile delinquents to parents who do not do what Parenting 101 should tell them to do.
Good point.
Yeah.
Good point. Well, I will give out a few resources that I do know of in the DMV area. We have Tony Lewis Jr. I believe he has a program for felons as well. because his father did over 40 some years in federal prison. If you don't know who his father was, he was Rayful Edmonds' number 2 guy in the DMV, and they're responsible for the majority of the drugs in the DMV area. So the young man was determined enough to keep on going before Congress to try to approve some laws to help people like his father get out a little earlier. And I'm just like, he was sad once you get out of those federal institutions, if you don't have a strong family structure, you have no ID, you have no way to get no ID, you have no residence, and you have no resources. So I don't know if anybody can take it. It's an open forum, so anybody can jump in about how, when you have no ID and you got no family structure, do you get your shit back together?
You got to look from within. You got to have an internal locus of control. It's just that simple. Now, one of the things, Bishop was getting at there, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? Right? And I'm going to throw out something that's controversial slightly, but it's not to the people here because we're doing it already. What we need to do is work on ourselves. If you're a better man, you're going to be a better person to some kids. You're going to set a better example. How many parents out there or people or older folks are fat, lazy, don't do shit, near to wells, instant gratification, sitting on their Netflix doing fuck all? That's what the kids see. How do we expect them to be grown-ass people with responsibilities if they're not looking at grown-ass people with responsibilities? Right? We're all doing it here by even doing this. JB, you've got your foundation. Jack, you're helping out young people. I do this. I mentor youth about my experiences. Norris, you're doing the same thing. Bishop, working in the system, right? Like, we're all doing it, but 99.98% of people aren't. And we all touched on it, and I wrote it in the chat. And one of the things I'm trying to live by now is a creed. Like, we all, different creeds, right? And mine is one line thing, which is be the man you needed when you needed it. And it's right there in that one sentence, right? And we're doing that. Now, how do we get the kids aren't going to fix themselves? They should be able to, but we didn't provide them with the resources or the parenting or the role models to pattern that behavior. You said they can't see beyond the end of their nose because we never told them there's something past the end of their nose or showed them, right? Monkey see, monkey do. We're still monkeys, right? Depending on your faith, right? And they're learning from us. So if they're learning from lazy, near to well people, what do you think's going to happen? Are they going to be superstars? No. So if people look in the mirror, and that's where it starts. That's where the youth today get better. Isn't the youth? It's us looking in the mirror to set a better example. Whether that's as mentors, as friends, as lifting buddies at the gym with the young bucks, wherever you can, be the man you needed when you needed it. And then that would solve all the world's freaking problems that people, like, I'm not kidding. Of course, it's never going to happen per se, or if we all try to get another guy to be the man he needs to be for someone else. That's how you start it. Save one, right? But also, don't look down at the kids. Look laterally at your group of friends, or and then that's where you spread the word, or up the older folks, right? And set those examples. That's, I think, what we're missing sometimes in our world is you got to fix yourself first, man. You want to help somebody, help yourself. And I don't mean pad your own pockets or whatever, but work on your mental health, work on your stability in society. Break that cycle of poverty for yourself. You can help out the next generation. Get that hustle on, get that grind, but then give it back. It took me a long time to get where I am, and I'm now just at the point where I'm able to give back. It took a long time to get from nothing on a street corner to where I am, and now I can give back. But if other people took their time on the street corner or wherever, whatever their deal is, and they could have grown up in a good home and have this, but if they're working at setting that example, that's what I think we all need to be doing on what's wrong with these kids. These kids are popping off or doing all this because we didn't set a good example. Like, let's be real here, man. And I'm going to be the first one until maybe the last 10 years where I was not out there setting a good example to younger people looking at me to pattern behavior. Now,
I'll say this: real men are an endangered species.
That's great. That's a great quote. Absolutely.
I see it every day. And just like people my age, people older than me, I look at them and I'm like, you're a man child. And you raise kids, you have kids, it's like, no wonder we are in the crisis we are right now. Is because there's a lack of men.
Totally agreed. Totally agreed. And this is a piggyback on what Ryan said. Like that's the hard answer. Like, you know what I'm saying? That's really the hard way to do it. If like literally if everyone could literally just be 1% or you know what I'm saying, just that much better every day, the world definitely be a better place. But it's just in reality, just we just understand that that's just not gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So now, if that's not going to happen, what else can we do? Is my quote. You know what I'm saying? My quote. I love it because that's exactly what happened. When you say you had to come home and internally, like, granted, I came home from after doing my 5 years. I sat in the halfway house for about 4 months. And you know, in the halfway house is similar to prison to a certain extent. You know what I'm saying? And you can't move around in the halfway house that I was in unless you have passes or unless you have specific things that you have to do. So, like Ryan said, if you have that internal fortitude, if that is in you to just say, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna be the man that I said I'm gonna be. I set my goals, and it starts for me. It started on the inside, and guys that were really had their mind focused on the inside, they came home and were productive. You know what I'm saying? So the opposite was the same. Guys who were in there smoking, doing, drinking, because you can do this, all that good, great stuff. You see guys go to prison, they work out, they come home, look great. That's not always reality. That's about 20% of the actual prison. Those guys doing the same thing people doing at home, lazy, sitting around, not taking care of themselves, whatever the case may be. And so when you come home from that mindset, yeah, you're gonna be bullshit. You're gonna, you know what I'm saying, it's gonna be out here lollygagging. But for me, like I say, I had internal in me that I'm gonna get my shit together no matter what. And granted, I came home to a great situation because I had the family structure and I had a pillow to fall back on. I had people that was coming to pick me up to take me around and do certain things. You know what I'm saying? Well, some people don't have that. But even if they didn't, trust me, I would have made sure that I would have had public transportation or some way to make sure that I would have got it. But like I say, you know, I'm cut from a little different cloth. You know what I'm saying? Like I say, I had a dad who was military, you know what I'm saying, foundation, who just got it out the mud per se. You know what I mean? He really was hard nosed and hardcore, and he set a lot of discipline in me. So I had that structure in me, and then the sports background and things of that nature. But everybody doesn't have that, so they come home and it's just like, oh, I got to do it on my own. I got to figure this out. I got to do that, and it's just they go right back to the same stuff. And it's just people that sit in halfway houses for so long because they won't do the correct things to get their IDs or whatever they need to get home, and it's just sad. It's sad.
You know what, JB? I'm really proud of you. And then when I saw you tagged your back in the day picture, I went to everybody name and I saw all the buddies who were in that situation with you were doing outstanding things. And
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
just like, that was the most amazing part to me. It was like at least
Yeah.
5 of you guys in a photo. And I went to
Mhm.
every name you tagged.
Wow.
And everybody was doing something better than where they came from. And I was just
Absolutely.
like, that's
Man,
what,
Absolutely.
that's what I'm talking
Thank you
about.
for that. But those are the guys I'm talking about who were in there doing the right things. Like so, it's the same. I have a small circle at home now. So even when I went in prison, I ain't just hanging with just anybody. I select my friends. You know what I'm saying? It's like you come from certain areas when you're in the federal system. It's real geographical. You know what I'm saying? You're gonna hang with your homies. You're gonna hang with who's from DC, who's from PG, who's from Baltimore. You know what I'm saying? You all click up, but at the same time, we can all be cool. But at the same time, I'm going to choose who I want to kick it with. I'm going to choose the guys out of this that's that's on the same page as me and who want something better for themselves. Because the whole time I was in there, I was pumping positivity to the biggest gangster in there. I don't care who you are. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter. Like this is just me. You're gonna love me. I'm genuinely me. You're gonna love me or you're gonna hate me. But at the same time, I'm always gonna be me. And I got with guys who are genuinely themselves and who wanted something better. And it's basically like we formed the clique, formed the team, formed the workout crew, and we were accountability partners the whole way through it. It's just and we came home on the same. We almost came home around the same time, a year or two apart from each other, and it was just we linked back up out here. And it's the same vibe. Same. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that.
Hey man, pay attention to everything around me, my guy.
I
Uh,
see.
speaking of crash outs,
Yes.
we got to talk about it. The video just dropped as I was leaving work today. Is all over across Earth. The ultimate crash out that everybody used to look up to in the '90s when we were listening to our good hip hop days. Diddy uh, came out and he did abuse this young lady and decided to put hands on her. So how do we feel about young men crashing out, putting their hands on women, or may be sex trafficking them?
I think it's amazing how it's like 2024. It's like ever since Cat Williams came out and talked about what's going
Truth.
on behind the scenes, every part of entertainment has been just blowing up, like all these like horrible things and all the evil underneath has been coming out. And I think that's like a sign of a society deteriorating, is that usually the elite can cover up their bad doings, but when things go to shit, it all comes to level. And we're just seeing it now. We're seeing it with Diddy, with the Weinsteins, in the politics, it's with Epstein. It's always, they're always doing it with the most vulnerable members of our society. They're always victimizing the most vulnerable people, which are children, sexually exploiting children and doing the sex trafficking, and it's disgusting. And I think that P. Diddy needs to be locked up in jail for the rest of his life. He's a disgusting human being, and I'll never listen to his music the same way I used to.
Open platform. Anybody can take it next.
You want to take it, Ryan?
I agree with Jack. P. Diddler's got to do some time, man. He's going to find out, he's going to find out, and I'm sure you can attest to this, JB, what happens to Chomos up in there.
Oh, you know,
and he's got plenty of money. He's
Yeah.
got plenty of money, but he's going to find out how much money it's going to cost him per day to be a Chomo up somewhere. And he's going to learn that the nickname P. Diddler is going to stick for the rest of his life now. But it's as you said, like it is a sign of society. I actually think it might be a sign of society correcting a little bit that these rich elite people are finally getting popped off. Are finally getting caught. People are finally talking about some of this, right? Like, in different communities and things like that, where it's coming to the surface. So maybe it's a good sign. It could be the decline of the Roman Empire, just the same, Jack. Like the jury's out whether it's good or bad, that it's so ever present everywhere. But I don't think he can talk his way out of this one. Where there's smoke, there's fire, and there's too much going on, and there's people guaranteed ready to drop dimes on him because other people come up and invest. You don't do any of this stuff in isolation. Nobody does this stuff in isolation. So the video of Diddy, who shot the video? So there's people there. There's other people watching. Who were his friends, right? And he's going to realize real quick,
Cameras
once
everywhere.
the heat's on him, he ain't got no friends anymore, right? He's not going to have friends real fast. He's got money friends, but as long as those checks keep going out, those are the extent of his friends now. And I just got no time for people like this. Like, I'm not going to listen to his music. I'm not going to, anything he's done to me. It's just disgusting. It's horrible. And I hope he gets a long, hard prison sentence because you want to rob a bank, you want to sell some drugs, you want to do some things. You know what? There's levels to this stuff. But I mean, wife beaters, kids, all that. Like, no, man, I don't got time for that. I don't give a shit. I hope he has the worst ever. His asshole this big is what I hope.
Oh, Lord.
And he wished he didn't diddle those teenage girls, man. Because
he's not going to be able to fart.
Yeah, right? And it's just horrible. So I really hope that more of these people get pushed to the surface and dimed out by their buddies and drain the swamp in Hollywood and DC, like the government there, and all these would be fantastic, man.
Yeah. Scumbag.
JB.
Man, I'm so disgusted and torn at the same time because it really it hurts my heart because growing up we not necessarily idolized Diddy because like I said I had a background that was strong where we just people are people, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? You might be a celebrity, you might be cool, but we're going to talk and we're going to look at you as your people. We love what you're doing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not that big idolizing, oh my God, you're a big star. So that's just me. But at the same time, we look at P. Diddy like that coming from the black community because he is one of those black forces that's on a level that you can look up to. And you look at him and he's on an elite level, you know what I'm saying, of somebody that you would idolize or try to, you know what I'm saying, emulate, you know what I'm saying, with his success, you know what I'm saying? So to hear that and knowing that I supported him not supported him necessarily, but supported his brands because it was, a black owned brand or whatever the case may be. But for me, knowing at the same time, like you say, smoke is fire, it's always been stuff in the air about P. Diddy. And you know what I'm saying? A lot of that stuff he probably paid over was swept under the rug, you know what I'm saying? We kept going. He had secrets on somebody, whatever it might have been that allowed him to keep that status, you know what I'm saying? So I really think it's an interesting take that both of y'all said as far as it's just a sign sign of our society. You know what I mean? Whatever side it is, whether it's correcting, whether it's a sign of showing how broken we are, whatever it is, it's definitely a sign in society where when the elites start falling like this, and it's just like, what are we going to find out next? You know what I'm saying? So, and for me too, like, not to bounce around so much, I've been into like the little Illuminati videos for a long time, and they always talk about Black Hollywood, especially, you know what I'm saying, these guys that do certain things to get to a certain level, you know what I'm saying, and who knows if it's true or not, but like I say, where it's smoke as fire as something is going on, and Diddy's name was always in the mix of that stuff, so it always stuck in the back of my head, you know what I'm saying, I'm a big Biggie fan, so a lot of stuff that happened with Biggie was underhanded and dirty in the way he did his mom. I never liked that stuff, so it always stuck out to me in the back of my mind, just always, so if anything like this ever came about, it's like, yeah, I can see that happening. And what he did on that video was just disgusting. Like I say, I've been in physical altercations with women multiple times, you know what I'm saying? And never, ever in life would I ever do anything to that nature, to that extent, with as far as grabbing or choking or dragging or any of that. Putting hands on women is just wrong, period, all the way around the board. I was wrong in the situations I was, because as a man, you should be man enough to be able to step back, keep your emotions in control, and do what you need to do to not allow the situation to get out of hand. And that was just disgusting. It was just, in many words, like Ryan said, you want to just wait till he get to prison and just see what's going to happen with him for real. Because like in our world of the community, he's just a bitch ass NIGGA. Like he's a sucker. Like to do that is just, you're capable of doing anything. You'll do anything at that point. Like Ryan was saying too. Sorry to keep going, but it's levels to this shit. You know what I'm saying? It's levels to being in the streets and doing certain things. But when you woman beating and fucking with kids and doing all that fuck shit, like, nah, get them the fuck out of here, straight like that. That's why I had to start cussing and getting real deep in my emotions. That shit there, like that shit it strikes a different nerve.
It does.
Good point. All right, we talked about the problems. Could anybody please give us some solutions in closing?
Hey.
I'll start. I think it's what we went over. We just need to have stronger men, and the few stronger men there are need to go out and reach out to these kids. There needs to be programs where these kids can learn discipline and learn how to properly, achieve things, that it takes slow progress. It's not shortcuts. And I think like a great thing would be to have, weightlifting programs in schools, because I watch these football teams and their strength and conditioning coaches. I don't know what they're doing with these kids, but I see the lifts and they're atrocious. So I think we need to dedicate a little bit of time to having that community of lifting and having some good mentors to help these kids and give them something to take out their aggression in, give them that adventure they need, other than being on the streets and killing each other and doing drugs that could be laced with fentanyl and kill them. So, I just want to find, the adults, the men need to step up and start helping these kids find a good path instead of the bad path.
Good point. Whoever want to take it next, it's an open platform.
I'm going to roll with work on ourselves. Every one of us, everyone who's listening, everyone who does listen to this, everyone we talk to, look in the mirror. How can you be 1% better? Then how can you show someone else to be 1% better? Right? I can't go fix some kid's life, but I can fix mine and show that kid a good example, lay a path, right? Blaze the trail and say, hey, follow me. Look at me. I go to the gym. I eat right. I read. I take classes. I do whatever it is. Better yourself. Invest in yourself. Like in my world of business, we often joke that rich people buy assets, broke people buy deficits, or they buy liabilities, right? Teaching people fundamentals of the gym. Better yourself physically, be healthy. Teach people better, like the fundamentals of finance. This is how you save. This is how you budget. This is what happens to your check. This is taxes. This is, right, all of this is how a credit card works. Don't let them, when we talk about fallen cracks in the system, one of the greatest things I learned to escape the streets was learning how the system works and learn how I could take advantage of it for my own gain. And I don't mean that negatory. I had to learn what a bank account was. I had to learn finance. I eventually went to college, all that, but like basic life skills, the gym, healthy eating, finance, how to pay your bills, all of that stuff. And it starts with us. And if we show people how to do it, we do it better for ourselves, spread the love and spread positivity, that's really the way to do it. It all starts within. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. But if I go walk to the water and I drink and I look at some young buck and go, see here how it's done. If he does it, the path has been provided. If it hasn't, it's on him. Once you've shown the way and proven the way and shown the way with your own blood and guts and tears, right? And then nobody wants to do the hard stuff. Oh, let's get a government program. The government ain't solving shit of our problems. Never have, never will. Out the window with government programs, right? How can you help the people that are 10 feet around you and show them a path? And then hopefully when you save one of those guys or show them the way, then they save another guy that shows the way. And that's how it builds in just a movement of being better people, better men, better women, better everybody, right? You know, like that's just, it sounds crazy, but it just might work if we all look in the mirror and try and better ourselves, you know?
For real. Yeah.
JB.
This is tough. I like what both you guys said. I mean, not to say it's a tough one for me because what Ryan said is really, that is literally the way. You know what I mean? That's literally the way for if everyone would take time on it. It's wild to me that it only takes, you know, an hour, 30 minutes out of your day, you know what I'm saying, to actually learn something and acquire some skills. But so many people just spend hours mindlessly, aimlessly on social media or just, you know what I'm saying, like just being that example that we're talking about, you know what I mean? That bad example being just lazy at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? It's all dopamine. It's all things that we can get hyped about. It's all things we can see as enjoyment. Nobody really wants to put the extra work in and the extra effort, you know? So all my people tell me, oh my gosh, you're so motivated. You're so this. I wish I could be like you, but all I can say is, why can't you? Why can't you? What am I doing that's so different from you? I wake up every day just like you. I go brush my teeth. Oh, I'm so busy. You got 30 minutes. You got 45 minutes. You got an hour out of your day somewhere where you could be better. And in that hour, like you say, somebody's watching you. Somebody to be set. You know what I'm saying? You really realize could be setting an example for your kids. You know what I'm saying? I tell my clients that all the time. Like, you building that healthy lifestyle, you're doing more than just for yourself. You're doing for your community, for your family, for those around you. You know what I'm saying? You're an inspiration. You know, and it doesn't take that much, you know what I'm saying, to actually set an example, but people make so many excuses. But at the same time too, I always got to spin it and looking at both sides, you know what I'm saying? So me, myself, I feel like I am doing almost everything in my power, you know what I'm saying? I'm accessible. I'm getting involved in groups. Like I told you, my whole day to day, you know what I'm saying? Anybody who needs a guy who has come home from prison, who has been on the other side of, you know, has been on both sides. I had a little success before I went in prison. It wasn't like I was come from a fucked up background, fucked up past, everything like that. No, I had a solid foundation. I made choices that ended me where I was at. So now I made choices to better my situation where I was at. So having somebody being on both sides of that and really, you know, understanding the prison system, like literally have walked through it, you know what I'm saying? So I just put myself as the guinea pig. I put myself out there, put my testimony out on the line for anywhere, anybody, you know what I'm saying? And I feel like anytime I speak to the youth, anytime I go somewhere and do it, and you know what I'm saying? I know I can't do it just by myself, but for me, that's what I'm doing individually, and I'm open to any groups, any whatever, you know what I'm saying? We can get this message out there and impact in a positive way. I'm all for it. So, you know.
All right. Well, before I give your social medias out, I love quotes, so I'm gonna give you two to live by. The first one is, "Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." Ronald Reagan. That's the best quote ever. "Hi, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you." President Ronald Reagan said that. So if he can say that to you, you know the government is full of ish.
Absolutely.
My other favorite quote is, "Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. Somewhere out there, there's a motherfucker out there want everything you have. He wants the job you have, the money you have, the wife you have, or the husband. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not. But if it is true, it's your ass." David Goggins.
David Goggins, my guy.
Feel free to drop your social medias. And once again, man, before y'all drop your social medias, man, I appreciate your time, because your time is the most valuable asset you have. You know what I mean? It's been times I reached out to Ryan personally, helped me get out a little credit card debt issue I was having, off the love. You know what I mean? The times I leaned on you guys for every left I ever left. So I appreciate your time, because you're the most valuable asset that you have. Hey, man, I love you guys as well, man. I'm embracing
Oh,
my
thank you. We love you too, man. Thank you.
Love you, Unc. Love you guys. My social media is at STARR 3934 on Instagram. That's where I do most of my stuff, so you can catch me there.
My socials there is at the Welfare Gourmet on the Instagram. And you'll see me around on the Facebook in Old Man Strength Lifting Group and Squat Bench Dead Lifting Group, mentoring young powerlifters all over the world when I can, or smack talking them when that's appropriate too. You got to keep them right. But yeah, at the Welfare Gourmet on Instagram, you'll find that's my real life. That's me. That's not necessarily Ryan, the powerlifting official or anything like that. Having fun trying to help out, and I love you guys too. And Norris, you reach out sometimes when you send me some of those messages like, "How's your mental health today?" That hits hard sometimes when it's up or you're down, right? So
I love when you do that too.
thank
Yeah,
you
he
for
does that
that,
to
brother.
me.
Right? Like just sometimes someone poking you is enough to get your mind out of whatever circle you were spinning in. Going, shit, there ain't no problems. All right, I got buddies out there. You know what I mean? Like I got people going through something or doing better than me, and I can look forward, or we can help each other out. And rising tide raises all boats, right? All of us, if we work on each other and work on ourselves, we're going to work on a better world, right? So hit me up at the Welfare Gourmet, boys.
Will do.
Yeah.
I will do. Now, you about to say something?
I'm about to say the reason I started really doing those mental health check-ins, because being honest, you never know. Like one time, me and the guy Dale, who I've normally spots me, I felt something was off, and I'm glad he finally opened up, because you can't keep that pressure in, because it's going to explode. So you have to let it go. So I'm happy, I'm able to do it. And sometimes it's like, who's going to check on a checker? But when God calls you to be the checker, you just got to be the person who check in. All right, brother, give your
I love that. I love that. So I've been saying JB the whole time. My actual name is Jeremy Bruce, but I go by my tag, Never Going Back JB. All my friends call me JB, and it's never going back. That's the brand. That's what I stand on, and we never going back. So yeah, follow me. Like I say, that's the lifestyle on there. I got the bodybuilding on there. I got the clothing line on there. I got the whole life. Like you said, the whole life is literally on there. I'm an open book. So yeah, I show everything. So yeah.
Well, I will be seeing you guys at the Drug Tested Nationals.
Go for it, brother.
Let's
Kill it.
go.
I hope to see you at Drug Tested Worlds.
Let's go.
But only thing I can say, if all goes well, me and Kevin got a lot of ass whoopings to hand out.
Let's go.
So, all goes well, me and Kevin got a lot of ass whoopings to hold out. Because who would have thought when I told Jack and all them 2 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, when I told Ryan and them, I would never dare lift and swap. And look at your boy now, about to pull 500 pounds. I went from 0 to 500.
Yeah.
Man,
that's great.
I ain't never doing it to 500 pounds almost. So hey, man,
amazing. That's amazing, bro. Congrats.
You're gonna kill it.
That guy kept on getting on me, right here. That guy at the bottom, kept getting on me.
Yeah.
And they teased me and tormented me from only being a bench press king.
And look what it did, man. You qualified for nationals. You a grown man with legs now. You know, right? Like, right? You're breaking records. You're doing all this, and it took me years of hassling the shit out of you to get you to train legs. And I'm so glad. See, that's where it is. I was working on Norris being better and being better myself, right? And then sooner or later, all y'all might be stronger than the old man. But not yet, though.
Working on it.
To be honest, and bring it back to your first statement, accountability and having someone who's willing to push you to greatness. Accountability. You guys saying I was in my own little space being a bench press king, and you called me out to task, and I answered the call. So sometimes you do need other men to motivate you and keep you strong. All right, guys.
Real quick, whenever I do a meet, I always think of you guys. I always think of, all the people that support me, that have my back, and I'm like, I can't let them down. And that gives me the motivation to push myself beyond what I can do. So I appreciate you guys. You guys inspire me.
All right, guys, I ain't going to hold you no longer. It was always lovely chatting with you. I'll see you guys at the Drug Testing Nationals.
Man. Let's go, bro. Thank you, fellas.